الله يا الله 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 الله يا الله.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Welcome back to One Life, One Book, our newest program which discusses the tafsir of the Quran, and currently we are discussing Surah Rahmaan. The importance of the Quran in our life is something that we must understand. The Quran is to our life as our heart is to our body. If the heart stops working, then our entire body stops working. Even if all other functions are remaining, if all other organs are intact, if our heart is not intact, our body is not intact. Just like that, the Quran is in our life the true guidance. And if we don't have that, then nothing is going to benefit us in our life. If we don't have the Quran, if we have everything else that this life has to offer to us, then we will not gain the true benefit of this life. Therefore, Allah reminds us in this surah, in Surah Rahmaan, that we should stop taking this book for granted and open our eyes to the supreme knowledge and the wisdom and the cure that this book can bring to our hearts. And this book is directly from our Lord. That means the wisdom, the knowledge, the cure, that is directly from Allah for us. So we must not take it for granted, and we must not do an injustice to the Quran and not keep ourselves deprived from this great treasure. So we have one life and we have one book. We must mesh these two together and inshallah fulfill the responsibility that our Prophet has left us with. We will continue with our tafsir of Surah Rahmaan today. Just to recap for those of you who missed our last episode, we basically are up to verse 5 in this surah. And previously we learned that this surah is one of the most important surahs of the Quran, and that Allah is the teacher. We are His students in this surah. He is teaching us the Quran, and He is teaching us about His bounties. He is teaching us about all the ni'mat that He has given us on this earth, in this life. And we left off on the verse number 5, where we spoke about Shams and Qamar, the sun and the moon, and how they revolve in a system that Allah has set for them and has commanded them to. And they do not move away from this system. Only what God has commanded them to do and where He has commanded them to go, that is the system in which they move. And we discussed a little bit about Shams, that we kind of made a little comparison between Shams and the 12th Imam al-Mahdi ajallahu ta'ala farajahum sharif. And we said that just like the Shams is here for us, the sun is here for us and gives us so many benefits: light, heat, it causes things to grow. Plants would die without it, we would die without it. The Imam is like the sun behind the clouds. We benefit from him just as we benefit from a sun that, even though we can't see on a cloudy day, we still get light, we still get heat. Plants do not die that day. So just as we gain all those benefits that day, just because we cannot see the Imam does not mean that we do not gain benefits from him. And we're going to continue talking about Qamar, the moon, and if we have Alma Razia Najafi here with us today. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Inshallah, if you could continue on the tafsir of this surah and enlighten us with a little bit more about Shams and Qamar and moving on to the other verses of the surah.
Yeah, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. As Alhamdulillah we have done about sun, that how much blessing, and the rahmat we are getting from this bounty of Allah. So as we know that in Surah Rahman Allah is listing, Allah is mentioning in detail and His all bounties to us, then we can be thankful in front of Him. So about moon, as we all know that if we can see the blessing of moon, it's very obvious for us that it is the lamp of the darkness of the night, yeah, and it is the natural calendar for from Allah for all of us, so we can get to know easily. Sometimes really I feel that how in everything is in order, everything exactly never ever we have been seen that any kind of disorder or disobedience from this kind of Allah's creation. So as we maybe mentioned before, that this is giving to us the lesson and giving us this verse and this point that why we should disobey our Allah, why we are not listening and we are not submitting towards Him, that how this moon and this Shams and Qamar and Sun are obeying their Lord. And the concept of the day and night and even months and years and weathers, whatever we have, even the time in which time we are spending our life and we are giving this test and exams, whatever Allah has taken from us, everything is ni'mat, everything is blessing. So each and every second we should say Alhamdulillah, Shukran Lillah, because if there was not moon and not sun, then we didn't have this beautiful concept of day and night. And how beautiful it is, every day is like new life, fresh we are. And when I was small, I used to recite that Surah Ayatul Kursi. In Ayatul Kursi, Allah says, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Allahu la ilaha illa huwa al-Hayy al-Qayyum, la ta'khuzuhu sinatun wa la nawm. It says that Allah, He doesn't have sleep, So I used to say it's not a big deal, it's not a big quality. Why? Ayatul Kursi is very, very important ayah. It's a verse. Right. It's not a surah. It's one verse of the Surah Baqarah. So how much importance this ayah has, that how much we have a hadith which said that it is recommended and it has a lot of merits to recite. So I was wondering that why, it's not a very, Allah has not need of sleep, So it's not a big deal, it's not a big kind of, quality. But now, as much as we get older and we get to know something very, very little, so we know that none of the creation of Allah can live without sleep, all of us, we need day and night. If there's no sleep, like I can live without eating few days, but I can't live without sleeping. It's a big danger of my life. Right. So it's a source of life, source of energy which we have from day and night, which is because of the moon and the sun. So we should be really, really thankful, and we should say every day whenever we get up, and we say, Alhamdulillah, Allah has given me the new opportunity, new life, new day, and whatever I have done, inshallah, by my a'mal, Allah will forgive all my sins.
So now that we've wrapped up about Shams and Qamar, we'll move on to the next verse, number 6. And what does this verse ayah tell us?
Yeah, وَالنَّجْمُ وَالشَّجَرُ يَسْجُدَانِ means the plants and the trees bow in prostration. They do sajda. So some commentators, they said the plants or the stars, like they have translated for najm, one najmu, washajaru. Shajar means trees. Okay. It's clear.
Simple.
Yeah, simple. But about najm, we have two kind of translation. One is plants and one is stars.
And why is that it can be translated in both ways?
Yeah, because this is a question, very good question, because sometimes some people, they say there is no need of new translation of the Quran, because once if you have done, so it's enough. But according to scholars and ulama, we should do translation and the tafsir of the Quran each and every year, because it's a live miracle. So in each and every time, like
we're always discovering new things every time we translate.
And even that is about tafsir and about translation, because the lugha, the dictionary, the literal meaning of the words are completely different, because the root is different. So like for example here, najm, the lugha, the dictionary, it said that it means basically, najm means to rise. So to rise, some people, they said okay, because the star rises. And some people, they say plants also rise from the surface of the earth, so that's why it is also najm, it is also plant, it is also something which is coming from the earth. But which translation we are taking, because of, like, I have read this tafsir of Allama Tabatabai, he has chosen the translation of plants. Yeah, he said it is plants, because some people, they said no, it means stars. What is their dalil and proof, evidence which they are giving is because they said the last ayah, the previous ayah, was talking about moon and sun. Right. So moon, sun and stars, it goes
together. But then again, on the other hand, plants and trees that go together as well.
Yeah. And other thing which the very good proof which Allah Ta'ala he is giving is the wow. Because if you consider, if you reflect, you can see that from the beginning until now there is no wow, no and, no new sentence. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Ar-Rahman allama al-Quran, khalaqa al-insan, allamahu al-bayan. Ash-shamsu, not wash-shamsu, not wow, not and, there is not a new sentence. But there is a first ayah which starts with wow. Like it shows that it's a new sentence and there's no connection with the last.
Between the last and the new. Okay.
Yeah. So that's why he said there's a new point, new matter, new message Allah wants to give us. So that's why the najm means the plants.
Instead of the stars, because it's not connected to sun and moon. Okay, that makes sense. And so the ayah states that the plants and the trees bow down in prostration. Now, we know that they don't physically bow down in sajda like humans do. So what does that mean exactly, prostrate? What is the meaning of that?
Yeah, prostrate, if we get to know that the actual prostration, actual sajda is to obey Allah, to be submitted in front of Him, towards Him. So as we know that here, we know that the plants, Allah has told them that to be connected with earth, take your sustenance from the earth, or they are taking, whatever Allah is saying, they are listening, they are obeying. So this submission, complete submission, whatever Allah is saying, they are doing. It shows their prostration and sajda. And Allah is telling to us that be connected with earth, with land, because I can say that in this ayah, in this verse, it's beautiful. There's a beautiful point that it shows our physical and spiritual nourishment. Like in this ayah, we have spiritual food. Allah has mentioned about our spiritual food and about our physical food. Like spiritual food, like how I can uplift my spirituality by doing sajda. Sajda means I have to go towards khak, towards earth, towards turab. And about even my physical perfection, I have to go towards, again, plants means vegetable and everything, whatever comes from the earth, which is best for me, for my health. So both are connected to the earth. So Allah is saying, look how they are listening to me, but insan as the most wonderful makhluk or creation of Allah, but he is not listening. And one point which a very well-known scholar, Farabi, is a very great philosopher, he said about the prostration of the plants and the creation of Allah. He said like this, that the sky through his height is prostrating or he's obeying Allah, and the earth by spreading out, and the water by flowing, and the rain by falling. So every creation of Allah, every makhluk of Allah is obeying Allah. So whatever Allah says, they are doing, so that is their sajda. It's beautiful. And Allah wants from us also the ita'at, the submission.
Right. Yeah. Alhamdulillah. We're going to take a short break. Join us right after this commercial. And if you don't have your Quran handy with you to follow along with us, please go grab it off the shelf and join us in just a couple minutes. We'll be back with One Life, One Book.